this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Welcome to another episode of Get It Right Texoma with the trio, Mike Hendren, Terry McAdams, Trace Serrala. Glad to have you back with us once again. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. If you're watching, obviously, you know we're there. We're also on Spotify and Apple Podcast as well. Be sure to visit GetItRightTexoma.com, our website. We are here to inform and entertain you each episode. We try to, anyway, bring you local news and events and happenings. Also things around the region, the state, and nationally as well. And we also have some very interesting guests with us as well. And we do have
every
one
once in a while you
today.
can get intergalactic.
We can.
Every once in a while.
We have been as far as Uranus. Now.
Well,
okay.
What? It's a planet.
I think it's a Uranus.
Uranus. Okay.
We have an educator here, and the way he can tell us.
We do have a very special guest today. He might stick around after that. I don't know. Anyway, again, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. It's brought to you by Eddie Hills Fun Cycles, 401 North Scott, downtown Wichita Falls since 1966. Your power sports authority here in North Texas is Eddie Hills Fun Cycles. Online at eddiehillsfuncycles.com. MacTech Solutions, located at 4020 Ray Road, Suite 3B here in Wichita Falls. Anything Apple-related, they can handle for you. The only thing they don't sell is the iPhone, but every other Apple product they sell.
Ironically, they don't sell apples.
No apples. Although Terry might go out and pick you up some and throw them in if you spend enough money. He might go out and get you a bag of apples.
I could probably hook you up.
There you go.
Anyway. MacTech-Solutions.com, the website, and also Lolly and Pop Sweet Shop, made-to-order pies, cookies, fudge, pralines, and seasonally king cakes as well online.
That's pralines if you're from Texas.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, pralines if you're from...
I got to use the Louisiana pronunciation because I'm married to this Cajun girl.
Yeah,
and
his wife's a Cajun.
Anyway.
Yeah,
I got to do that.
All right.
Anyway, lpsweet.com, the website, also on Facebook at Lolly and Pop Sweet Shop. Our very special guest with us in the studio today is Mr. Donny Lee, the superintendent of the Wichita Falls ISD, which, by the way, congratulations. You just had your contract renewed.
Yeah, we actually talked about that.
Yeah, I get to stick around for a little longer.
A little bit longer. You get another 2 or 3 years anyway.
Right. Yep, that's right.
Well, we talked about it, and of course, I kind of pumped you up a little bit on that deal. When you came in, it was a mess. Quite frankly, there was a lot going on. There was a lot of problems financially. There was some issues, and the proof's in the pudding. Financially, the district is sound. We've got these schools that are coming online, and there's a whole lot. I know there's always a lot more work to do, but there's a lot of things that you and your team that under your leadership has kind of straightened up or righted the ship a little bit.
Yeah, and that's all started with good people. So just came in, put a good team together. We had a good vision on where we were going, how we would get there. It took some time, a couple of years, but we've got a solid foundation now that teachers can be proud of, and finally getting a raise after 5 years, and financially sound. Facilities are looking amazing, which we'll talk about. But, yeah, we're heading in the right direction. It's an exciting time to be at Wichita Falls ISD.
Sounds good.
Yeah. How's the student body count looking? I know it's kind of fluctuated, as it always does, I guess. But
that actually doesn't sound very good.
Yeah,
the
I know.
student body count.
I'm 2 for 2.
Yeah.
This is the number.
Enrollment. The
enrollment numbers. The enrollment numbers. I mean, they do fluctuate from time to time.
They do, and so about 15 years ago. Wichita Falls ISD had almost 18,000 students, believe it or not. So we have about 13,000 now.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what enrollment's going to be as we start the school year. The last 2 years, that has decreased on the amount of students that we've lost. I think we had a decrease of about 250 last year, which we've been averaging over 500 students per year that we had lost to either homeschool or some surrounding smaller districts. But the vast majority of them are going homeschool after COVID. And so we're very anxious to see what the numbers look like at Legacy and Memorial when school opens. And we'll have a good idea after about 2 weeks to see how that looks.
This is a big shift you've got going on here. You're going from a 3 high school model to 2 after decades of a 3 high school model. This is a big shift. Big change.
That's right. And then you have different kids that are going to be commingling with each other, which is great. So we have kids that are going all the way from the avenues all the way over onto the west side of town. And so it's not only the 3 high schools to 2, but now we have a more diverse student body at both campuses as well, which is going to be great for our district, our city, and we're excited to see what both schools look like when they open up.
And that was a stated goal.
That's right.
When the school district, or when the school board passed a bond, or when the bond passed and the school board came out, that was a stated goal. We're going to try to build attendance zones to where it will reflect as much diversity as you can and keep them relatively equal. And quite frankly, and I've said this a bunch of times on the radio and here, it's not as much color, it's have and have not.
That's exactly what it is.
That is huge.
That's exactly what it is.
This is 2024, folks.
Economic changes.
That's what it is.
It's not so much what color you are. It's
economically disadvantaged is how
have
we
and have
call
nots,
it. Yep.
Yes.
So that we're not having one school with all the money, resources, best this, best that. Now it's spread out all along both schools. Yeah.
And it's good for everybody because sometimes if you come from a tougher environment maybe, or an environment where there's not a lot of money in the house, and you see another way, sometimes it can be an inspiration as well.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So we're excited to see it, and
vice versa.
Yeah.
It also helps the kids who come from money to understand that there's another way to live out there, and they get a little bit more appreciation generally. I really believe that. I'm a huge fan of that.
Yep.
Sorry, interrupt you.
No, you're good.
You with all these changes in the district, and you talked about teachers getting a pay raise for the first time. I mean, where do we kind of fall now on that pay scale compared to the rest of the state? Are we close to median? Are we still below the median? I mean, where do we stand as a district as far as that goes?
Yeah, good question. So we did a salary study. We did that about 12 months ago, and it analyzed a comparable group, meaning districts that are like size of us, look like us, and so it compared that. So that's your Abilene's, that's your Tyler's, Crowley. So it was about 24 districts that it compared us to, and where we fell into that was our starting salary was pretty competitive, $48,800. The average starting salary was about $50,000. So you want to be within 90%. That's the goal. Now, when you start getting to that 10-year mark as a teacher, we fell way below, almost $8,000 below that. So what we did is we started at that point saying we're going to reward the teachers that have that amount of experience in that middle group to get them closer to our average median, as you say. And so we did that. So when we give teachers a pay raise, it isn't the exact same for every single teacher on the pay scale at 0 to 20. We bump them up in the middle more at 5% more raise, and that the beginning teachers like 2.5%. And so we're going to continue to do that, narrow that gap. And we're hoping that the legislature gives us a little help this next legislative session, and we'll be able to close that gap some. But again, our comparable group also compares us to districts that have 20,000 students. So we don't want to just be the best in Region 9, which we are, the best paid. We want to be one of the competitors around the state.
Well, on that, though, it was important, not that, you have great teachers at all levels, but when you have that middle tier and there's any reason for a teacher to move from here, that's not a hard decision. You want to make it. Y'all wanted to make it harder, a harder decision, and so make that closing that gap, because that's where you have experience. You have lost a great deal of experience if you start losing those teachers.
It's a great middle ground because you still have a lot of youth there and exuberance, but you also have some experience.
That's right.
That's kind of where you sometimes when you get and there's a lot of teachers that get in the 20s and 25 range that are still doing a great job, but there's also, let's just be fair, generally people slow down a little bit when they get a little bit older. That's right. And then when they're very young, they may be full of piss and vinegar, but they don't have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's kind of one of you're right. Those are that's really your sergeants.
Yep, that's right. That's exactly.
That's your sergeant group.
Your staff sergeant, right? Yeah. Staff sergeant, tech sergeant. They're still in that time frame that they might get out, but you may, if you can, give them a reason to stay, then you
That's
do.
right, yeah.
And of course, you're not locked in for any particular time with
Right.
the teacher, but still.
One of the things I've heard recently is that, and I'm sure it's not just Wichita Falls ISD. If this is an issue, I'm sure all school districts are struggling with it. Is being able to find qualified substitutes. There's a deficit of available people to act as substitutes. Is that
it's tough.
case?
It's absolutely, that's true. So we have a tough time finding certified teachers, special education staff, and of course substitutes. So there's some days that we'll be in class and we have to combine classrooms.
Sure.
The principal has to look after a class. It's absolutely tough.
Well, what are the qualifications for someone to be a substitute? Is that what's hindering things? Is that or is it just
Well, quite frankly,
numbers?
it's a tough job.
it's
So
tough.
think back when you were a kid and the sub walks into class.
Oh,
It's
God.
man,
Yeah.
it's free day, right? And so it's discipline's a factor. Just understanding how to de-escalate situations. I mean, they're not trained for that if they're not a certified teacher who's retired and is now a sub. So it's a hard job, and the pay's not real good. Other than that, it's great.
On that, though, that's an interesting thing. Have you ever, in your experience or in your readings and learning about what other districts do around the world or in the country here, what are there innovative ways that they handle substitutes? Because I'm thinking if there was a teacher that was a substitute, but a full-time substitute, if that makes sense, where they have presence and they're not a surprise walking in the door. And maybe even if they're part-time, I don't know how that would work. I'm just throwing that out. I just wonder if there's.
We have both of those.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, part-time subs, we have full-time subs, and we have different types of subs. So you have a sub that's not degreed.
Right.
You have a sub who has a degree. You have subs that are with teaching experience. I mean, there's different levels, and you get paid different amounts for that.
But I wonder about that as far as the how the students take a particular teacher based on familiarity.
It's night and day. So if
Yeah,
you
I
have a
would
full-time sub, it's just like they're the teacher.
Exactly.
But if you have a sub who they've never seen before, they walk into class and they're at the high school or junior high level, brace up.
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, speaking of high school, let's talk a little bit about
Yeah.
the new high schools we've been talking about. We mentioned the orientation. We talked about that. We talked about the open houses that are coming up. So tell us a little bit more about the high schools. I know I did a tour with you. It's been about 2.5 months ago, and I know it was amazing how far you all got in there, and I know it's really come along.
It's come along. So we have the band students came yesterday, so they're inside the band hall right now at Memorial and Legacy. We did our final clean at Memorial, meaning we just went in there and shined everything up.
Yeah.
Floors look good. Classrooms have been done for a month, so all the common spaces are complete. The only thing that we're working on right now is the auditorium. So the auditorium at Memorial will be finished by August 15th. We had some issues that the auditorium's pretty innovative. I don't know if I know you've seen it, but the auditorium can be transformed into 6 different classrooms. But it's divided by walls or partitions. That partition company went out of business. And so about 8 months ago, they transferred all of their orders to another company, got back ordered. And so Legacies is going to be behind. So we're thinking 3 weeks after school, it'll be done. But everything else in Proposition A, which is the instructional spaces, will be complete. And now we're just focusing all of our energy on the auditoriums and on the athletic facilities.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. The legislature, this is a weird thing that the legislature came out with some rules on language. And so you had to, and I think part of it was Allen School District, some of these big school districts that basically said, if you want this, folks, you got to pay for a new athletic stadium and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they came out with this weird language that you had to put in your bond, and it really read that you were voting for this, and then you were voting for athletics separately.
Yeah,
correct.
But basically, if you don't do this athletics, you still can't. You have to have it to go with the whole package.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, Bond A, Package A, was passed, and Package B failed.
That's right.
Originally.
Correct.
So, but the school district's been able to find some money and things like that. So the fields are ready, but the the concession stands, the stands, and all that sort of stuff to actually make those fields usable at the schools is not ready, other than practice.
That's right. So we call it, on ground, the fields, everything above ground. That's your concession stands, your locker rooms, your bathrooms, those batting cages. That's being poured right now. Those will not be complete. So when the kids come to school on the first day, they'll want to go out and practice on the baseball field. They can do that, but they won't be able to hit balls and things like that for batting practice, and there won't be a restroom out there. They'll have to come in the main building for that. Because just like you said, anything that's not instructional now has to be on a completely different ballot, or Proposition B, or if you want another arts facility, you have to go Proposition C. So everything's voted on separately. And you're right, Wichita Falls ISD, the voters failed the Proposition B the first time, came back around, did it again, passed it. Inflation hit. It wasn't built right then, as you know, and the prices soared to almost double. So we had to find ways to pay for everything above ground. We found that through interest rates on our bond and some other things, and now we're just waiting for it to be complete. So,
yeah. So how do you feel about the future of bond issues in this district? I know there's been this district struggled to get these high schools done. I mean,
That's right.
there was more than one attempt at doing this.
Yeah.
More than one failed attempt at doing this.
Yep. That's right.
And a lot of ideas brought to the table that never came to fruition. But finally it did. Now we got 2 brand new high schools. But
Right.
going forward, going down the road, you're going to have to replace other facilities. You're going to have to retire some. You're going to have to build some new facilities. You're going to have to, at a minimum, you're going to have to make some major upgrades going
Correct.
forward to other facilities. How do
Yep.
you feel about the future of bond possibilities in this district right now? What do you think?
Well, a large part of that's going to hinder on how the public portrays these two. So as we get in and they see them and they realize, man, these are fantastic, state-of-the-art facilities. What we paid for is what was promised. So it's trust. So if the public doesn't trust you with your tax dollars, they're not going to vote for you. Right. And so we want to get these things open successfully on the 15th. We're doing a lot of open houses and community tours to show the public, here's what it is. It's amazing. So that when we do, we will have to come back out in a few years, maybe with some an elementary possibly or a middle school. We don't know how, depending on our long-range facilities plan. But yeah, bonds are part of school business, and so that's going to be coming down the future.
Well, I think what happened was the failed attempts at the high school were before the CEC were built. And I think we almost had to baby step it. I think what we had to do was get that CEC built. And the CEC really had, not universal, but had widespread support because, look, the Career Education Center in Wichita Falls was housed in an elementary school that was built in the 20s.
Yes, it was in the 20s.
Yeah, in the 20s, Kerrigan. So it was time. And I think what happened was we passed that bond, built it, did exactly what we said we were going to do.
That's right.
Built it like we said we were going to build it. And then people saw that and went, holy crap, this is amazing. And this is what you could do. And this is what you could do with innovation and also, value engineering things.
Yep.
And then I think when they saw that and then this other bond package came out for these high schools, people said, well, seeing what they can do and then put the trust in again. And I think once people see these again, they will find that trust. These things are so well innovated, guys. Every square foot is accounted for. There's not a lot of dead space. It's not the old buildings were a box with a bunch of boxes built inside and have little hallways to build all those boxes. Well, all those hallways are basically dead spaces and stuff that. That's not the way in these facilities. And they're so innovative and they can be used in so many different ways. And these kids are going to be so proud of these things, and the public is going to be so proud. I think that in the future, getting a bond passed in the future to upgrade a middle school or a elementary or something will be a lot easier.
See, when Trey and I were in junior high school, Kirby Junior High School was a kind of that concept. You had this wide open spaces,
right?
But they still used partitions, these movable partitions, to divide them off into individual classroom spaces.
Right.
Couldn't quite get away from the idea of the little boxes within the big box.
Sure.
But still kind of moving in that direction. So this is a whole different concept, though. You
Yes.
absolutely you can utilize every square foot of space in the building
That's
for
right.
some purpose. And
Yep.
like you said, with the auditoriums, you can transform those into individual classrooms. So you've got the ability to take that big footprint of space and make
Correct.
smaller footprints if you need to
Yep.
to accommodate. Because the fact of the matter is, you could grow significantly
Good.
in the next 5 or 10 years.
Yep. We hope so.
You just don't know where that's going to go,
That's right.
and that's going to force even more innovation, isn't it?
That's right. And so every space, like Trey said, you generally use an auditorium one period a day.
Yeah,
Now you use it all day.
right.
You used to have a library that you rarely use now. Kids don't really check out books. Now the library is just an open space where kids can come and go. There's not a library.
Let me be the first to say it's a damn shame.
Yeah.
I really that saddens me that we don't. I like books.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of books at my house.
Sure.
And I read a lot. And I've to me that just saddens me that we don't have that aspect of it. And I get why we don't.
Yep.
But damn, it saddens me that we don't
Yeah,
have that.
they're movable shelves in the open space, so they can go check books out, but there's not a designated space of 5,000 square feet for it.
Yeah, that's heated and aired, cool,
all that.
by its own
A
by itself,
librarian.
where there's a librarian sitting in there. All
Yeah,
the time.
I get why we don't need that, and why maybe this is a better idea.
Yeah.
I get that, but
Yep.
just the thought that kids don't go and check books out and don't research
Get on
that
that
way
phone.
anymore. I know.
Yep.
I know.
Of course, one of the problems is also, honestly, to be fair, Mike was born about a century too late. I mean,
Probably,
Mike would have been fine. He would have been fine if he'd have been born in 1871 instead of 1971.
Because he likes the
Probably.
Westerns.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
it's
it.
just
And
one of
the
those-
riflemen, no doubt.
Oh,
and
hell
the-
yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
Bonanza and all that.
yeah.
So, real quick on the idea of growth. I'm assuming, and maybe I'm wrong in this, but when they build and design a new building like this, and given the engineering wonders that we have and the smarts that we have, did they build in a expansion into the building itself?
Yes, they did. And so it starts with 2,100 capacity with the capability on 2 different spots to keep on going, to build wings.
Okay, so they could add on
Yes.
actual space. Okay,
Yep.
cool.
And we've got the space and the land to do it.
Because you think about it, Wichita Falls is not any smaller than it was 15 years ago when we had 18,000 students.
That's right.
Or 20 years ago. It's just that the demographics have shifted. There are not as many younger people
That's
here, to
what
be
it
fair.
is, yeah.
Part of that's the demographics shifted, but there also have been people that have moved who were in the Wichita Falls ISD catchment area that have moved out and live out in the country and things like that. So
Well, we've been talking about that for years, about the only demographic that's been growing here for several years now is 55 plus.
That's right.
We've got to turn a corner on that, and we got to do it
correct.
soon.
But
But we need more younger families here,
Yeah.
and hopefully the schools are one way to attract them.
Right. Well, and with that, because that's a recruiting tool for companies, for the
100%.
city, for the chamber, for
Yeah.
every
Yes.
aspect of it, and it all works hand in hand.
That's right. They look for jobs first generally, and the very first thing after that, they're looking at schools. And so,
And it's nice now to take them instead of rolling down the avenues to Old High. I mean, Old High is a cool looking facility if you like nostalgia, but
That's
quite
right.
frankly, if you're not into nostalgia and you're a 30-something who's thinking about, and you're a scout looking for your corporate headquarters to move to or something, or bring people in,
I'm curious on
not that cool.
that. One of the things that is a benefit of having the newer facilities is the overall operational costs of those facilities. Now, sure, you have the investment of the infrastructure, but the fact that you're not having to maintain these older buildings. Now, what is the future of Old High and Hershey's becoming the middle school, right?
Hershey and
That's
Ryder
right.
are both becoming middle
Yep,
schools.
that's
Okay.
right. So Hershey we're using this year, right off the bat. Kirby will move into Hershey. We renovated that,
Right.
spent about $2.4 million, and that did new LED lights, flooring, paint, all of those things. And then now Ryder will be renovated this next year, be empty. Renovate it, and it will become a middle school next year. So McNeil Middle School and others will go into that one.
Oh, really?
Which,
Well,
So then which will cascade a domino with some elementaries closing, which goes back to our footprint reducing and getting more economical. And so,
So McNeil may transform into an elementary.
it will be an
It
elementary,
will be.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
That
what
was
about,
a plan.
but
From
what
way
about
back when?
yeah.
I remember that was I was on the school board. That was a plan.
But what about Old High? What's happening with Old High?
Now
What's its plan?
that's the fly in the ointment, right? So that it's just that he's a nostalgia, great building that's been here for 100 years, and so the honest answer is we don't know what we're going to do with it right now. We know that we're not using it; it's going to be vacant right now, but we don't know what we're going to do with it because it's where it sits. It's a challenge for somebody to come in and want to utilize it because it sits in the middle of a neighborhood. So we're talking to the city. We're talking to a number of groups to see is that something that they want to lease, because right now the board's not open to selling it. And so we don't know what we're doing with it. It's just going to remain vacant.
Well, I wonder-
Is it designated historically in any
Well,
way
that's what I'm
because of
saying,
the
'cause
age of it yet? Or
It's not
is it-
officially a historical landmark, but it would be. But there's two sections of the building that have been deemed unsafe. So you have the corner, would that be northwest corner, all the way up all 3 stories. You're not allowed, we can't go in them because of the cracking and the unsettling. The gym has been deemed dangerous, and they ask us to demolish that. Part of weeks in the weight room area. So there's some very challenging concerns there.
And which is sad on the weight room area because it's not that old.
Right. But it's just it's the entry structure, not the weight room itself.
Right.
And so we barricaded that off. The gym, all the home side, you can't sit in those areas. So
Wow.
yeah, it's a problem, and it's about 4 to 10 million. I know it's a big difference there, but to fix it. And so, do we want to spend $10 million on a 100-year-old building or use those funds elsewhere?
So basically, what it comes down to is, if these bonds hadn't passed, if we hadn't built these new schools, if you were still moving students into Old High and Ryder and Hershey, at Old High, you would have some real challenges as to how much of that building and how you could use it. You might even be busing kids to the other 2 high schools to be able to
It'd be a problem.
spread them out to where you're not forced to utilize unsafe areas.
That'd be
of that.
tough because Ryder was already busting.
Yeah.
the scene.
I was going to say
room.
they Ryder
Oh,
was
my goodness,
full.
especially during when that bell rings.
Oh, gosh.
Well, you better get up against the wall.
That's right.
I had
Those
family
halls are
members,
narrow and they're full.
Yeah.
nieces and nephews that graduated from Ryder, 10, 15 years ago. And back then, kids were having to sit out in the hallway in desks because there wasn't enough room in a classroom for them.
Yep.
So they were having to bring other desks in and put them in and put some kids in the hallway.
That was during the open choice. That's why we fixed open choice because it was insane.
Yeah.
It was out of control. So as we're kind of getting close to the end here, we talked about the new schools. Tell us what else is going on with the ISD that's outside the realm of facilities right now.
So we've got convocation start of the year. That's what we're working on right now. So start of the year is cranking up. We mentioned that we have band students started yesterday. Athletics and athletes and football and volleyball start Monday. Our new teachers begin this Friday. We have a new teacher draft, so we welcome them in similar to an NFL draft or an NBA draft. With the first pick at Burgess Elementary, and they love that instead of the old sit down and at a table and give them a pen. And then welcome to the district.
Here's your gift basket.
Yeah.
Have a nice life.
And then the HR stuff after that. So we really want to welcome them in to start with WFISD in a real positive way. The next Friday we have convocation, which is our way of welcoming every teacher and staff member.
That's always a really neat.
Yeah, so 1,900 people at First Baptist Church have a great showcasing of our students and our staff. And then the next Thursday we start school. And so we are ready to get going, and it's a lot of excitement. We have a new commercial out. I don't know if y'all have seen that highlights our Memorial and Legacy.
I haven't seen it.
And so we're really pushing all chips on the table on that. And it's not just the buildings; it's our people as well. So yeah, lot of exciting things. We have new curriculum for our teachers, reading curriculum, a new math curriculum. You name it, we're chips all in. We're ready to go.
Oh, wait a minute. 2 + 2 is still 4.
That's
right?
still 4,
Okay.
believe it or not.
Make sure we're on the same page.
That
here.
part hadn't changed.
Okay, all right. When I hear new math, I go, wait a minute.
I'm going to say this real quick. I'm going to say it in front of, because I've said it to you guys when we talked about this before. When you hear about some of the craziness in some of the school districts, and you hear it on a national level, is they're teaching things and stuff like that. That has not happened in the WFISD.
No.
I've heard that for years, and I've heard people saying, I hear they're teaching. You're hearing about somebody who's teaching something in Chicago or Los Angeles or San Francisco, or it's generally a large, even if it's in Texas, it's in Austin or it's in Houston or San Antonio. Yeah. But all that crazy curriculum and all the kind of craziness you're hearing about is not taught in the Wichita Falls ISD.
That's right.
The Wichita Falls ISD has taught, and I've been out of it, but I'm still know people that are involved enough that I have faith in them. Goes by what the TEKS are.
That's right. That's right.
Essential skills and knowledge and skills, and that's what is taught in the WFISD. And they have some managed curriculum. Not going to say that you don't have some teacher somewhere who loves dinosaurs and she wants to spend 6 weeks on a dinosaur thing or something like that. I mean, but with managed curriculum, a lot of that has gone away.
It's gone, yeah.
But when you hear this craziness stuff, don't just put it in a they're teaching. Yeah. School districts are so diverse in not only by state, by city, by district. There's so much diversity on how things are done. You can't play a blanket because somebody did something crazy at one district somewhere that's how everybody's doing it. It's not.
If I had my way with what we teach and how we teach it, 3 things I think we would do. Number 1, our Constitution. I think too many of our young people get out of high school and have no clue.
Sure.
They have no clue, no idea. They pick up what they've learned online, which is usually wrong. We'd start teaching constitutional studies in grade school, scaled, of course, for age, teach it all the way through high school. There would be some level of that all the way through 12th grade. The other thing, too, is finances. How many kids get out of high school and can't count back change or simply don't know how to manage a bank account because they've never had to do it? I think that, some level of finance, and I think you could start that junior high level about 13, 14, right before they're about to go into the workforce as a part-time employee as a teenager, before they get that first job at McDonald's or Brahms or wherever.
Right.
Start that there, and then all the way through high school, teaching that. And then the third thing also is bringing back real civics, and I think that ties into the constitutional thing. I know we teach social studies, but there's a big difference, I think, between teaching civics and teaching social studies. Part of what we don't have in our political arena anymore is good civics-minded people.
Yeah.
People that are really with a servant's heart and a servant's mind when it comes to serving their community whether it's an elected official or an appointed official or whatever.
Yeah.
If we could instill some more of that in these people, with these young people when they're 12 to 18 years old, rather than waiting until they get out of high school and throwing them to the wolves and going, well, okay, guys, now you got to do it the right way.
Well, James Frank is going to be in here, and David Spiller are both being in here, and those are the people that you got to hit up on that stuff.
Oh, I know.
Now, I agree with
all of it,
Yeah, I agree with the life skills class. I've pushed that for years. I figured when your first semester, your sophomore year, everybody should take a life skills class, and it would be filling out a job application, what's a credit report, balancing a checkbook, budgeting, changing a tire, knowing how to read an estimate for a repair.
Yeah.
Sure, I will build it for free. I'll build the curriculum for free. Yeah. But I know you have to. Everything has to go inside the TEKS. But seriously, I've said that for 20 years. We need to have a one semester life skills class, and you can teach a lot of kids.
Well, I know we used to talk about local control for the school districts. Do you feel like there's more local control today than maybe when you started out? However many years ago?
Local control in regards to the curriculum, not so much. I mean, you have some flexibility, but not a lot. You have to stay, as he mentioned, Trey mentioned, within the TEKS. But you can do financial literacy, which we have a little bit of, like modeled after Dave Ramsey's book. And so, where I'd come from, smaller districts, you have even more flexibility, and that's what the course was called, Dave Ramsey's Financial Literacy.
Yes.
So open up a checking account, how to count change back, which you'd be surprised at how many kids can't do that.
No.
Every time you go to the store, you see it.
Your bad change. And so just things like that. I completely agree with all of what you said.
Yeah. All right.
All righty.
Well, Donny Lee, thanks for being with us.
Glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Wichita Falls ISD Superintendent. If people want to get more information, obviously they can go search out the district's website.
Yep, WFISD.net.
Yep, and
show up to the school board meetings, and
that's another thing too.
You can see them online though. You can actually see them online.
You watch them. Yeah. So go on our website, go to school board. They live stream them. If you want to come, boring a show in town, you can do that second Tuesday of the month and third Monday, 6 o'clock for the main one, noon for for the Tuesday meeting.
The one thing that's nice about watching them online is if you watch them not live, but if you watch them after the fact, you can go to the agenda item you want to look
That's
at.
right.
So
Skip all the boring
and also
stuff.
definitely go to the open houses. Go see what those tax dollars are paid for.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the
19th is going to be memorials, and that's going to be 5:30, and then the 22nd is legacies. That's a Thursday. I think it's the same time, and all that information is on our Facebook page, on our website. Yes, come out
and we'll
see
still
what
talk
it's
about
like.
it here as well. Yeah, check it out. You're going to be blown away.
Yes,
Even
absolutely.
especially if you didn't vote for it. If you
Yeah,
weren't
if
for
you
it,
voted
that's right.
against it,
Anyway,
definitely go
Definitely
check it out.
come see
because,
it.
yeah.
Go see what you bought here.
That's
That's
exactly
right.
right. 'cause
Go see what you bought here.
that's exactly right.
Pretty
It's
impressive
everybody.
stuff for sure. Donny Lee, thank you again,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Appreciate y'all.
This is Get It Right Texoma. Again, our website, GetItRightTexoma.com. You can also find us on Facebook. Brought to you by Eddie Hills Fun Cycles at 401 North Scott, EddieHillsFunCycles.com, MacTech Solutions, 4020 Railroad Suite 3B, MacTech-Solutions.com, and Lolly and Pop Sweet Shop, LPSweet.com, and on Facebook at Lolly and Pop's Sweet Shop. Until next time, guys, take care. We will see you